And Chandler?
Page is unresponsive. Hello, folks. Just a quick technical difficulties here, and we'll get this rolling. We are getting real close here. Oh, it's going to happen.
Here we go.
Not sharing the screen. Right? Yes, it's. Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you. As soon as the PowerPoint pops up here, we will be good to go. Check to see if things are doing right. Looks like we're recording. It's picking up voices. That's good. I think here we go.
I think we're outside. Is it working? Yeah, we're in 7 minutes. So
And it's more of just a Wi-Fi issue, I believe, but we're going to persevere. So hello, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us online, and those who view this recording in the future. It was some technical difficulties, but we're going now.
yeah, so we apologize if the slides move a little bit slow when we're clicking through them, just because it does seem like it might be an ongoing issue, but we're going through it, and if the visuals are a little slow, at least you can hear us correctly.
Exactly. And we apologize again for the time management seminar starting after time.
Yeah, it seems like our slides are just moving really slow. But to start out, our next slide would be a disclaimer slide. This is basically saying that this is a psychoeducation seminar. It's hosted by myself, Alyssa, and Colt, who is here with me. We are counseling psychology practicum students, and we're supervised by Mark Ream, who is our LPC and the director of the Angelo State University Counseling Services. This seminar is not intended to be used as psychiatric treatment, but it's intended to just be educational and informal. So if you should experience any emotional discomfort at all during the seminar, after, at any time, just please contact counseling services at 325-942-2371 to just ask about scheduling counseling if needed, or if it's an immediate issue, you could also call the crisis helpline at 325-486-6345 for immediate assistance. There it is.
And that is a disclaimer there for you.
Yeah, so those numbers are at the bottom if you kind of need to do anything. So a little bit about us. My name is Alyssa Hassler. I'm a counseling psychology part-time student. I conduct intakes as well as I do individual and couples counseling. And I'm looking to obtain my LPC after I graduate this December, just coming up fast. And a fun fact about me is that I've lived in different states, and I have been to 40 out of the 50 states.
That is a lot. So my name is Colt Owen. I am also a counseling psychology practicum student, just like Alyssa. I conduct intakes as well as individual and couples counseling. I'm also looking to obtain my LPC, but I'm graduating after the May semester, so after next semester. Fun fact about me is I can juggle basketballs. So those are the biggest object I've gotten to be able to juggle. I can only juggle 3 at a time, but I've also gotten told that I look like someone who would be able to juggle. I don't know what that means, but we will take it.
You got me beat.
I will take it as a compliment. So getting started with the content today. So looking at what is time management, it's a thing that gets talked about a lot of. So uber successful people have great time management, all these different things. We'll talk about what time management may look like for you in a little bit, but just what time management is in general. It's the ability to use one's time effectively or productively. So to be able to plan out, exercise control over the amount of time that is used for performing specific activities. So this idea that, again, you watch like videos of Elon Musk and something like that, they're like, oh, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I do all these things and I go to bed at 6 p.m. That may be their schedule and may work for them. That doesn't mean specifically that's good for you. So we'll talk a little about in a little while about what a plan for you is going to look like and setting yourself up for success rather than setting yourself up for failure by wanting to do something someone else is doing. So it says planning out and exercising control. So planning out is, it's nice to have this planner where everything's in these little boxes, and this is what I'm going to do at this hour, and this is what I'm going to do at this hour. But if you're not able to exercise control over those plans, then it's a moot point. It's not worth anything. So again, it's setting yourself up for success. If you think something is going to take 2 hours, giving yourself even a little bit extra time on that. So you can still stay within the parameters of your goals and still get the activities done that you need to. So time management applies to everything. It applies to work, applies to school, and your social life and relationships. So oftentimes when we think about time management, it's about how am I managing my work and schoolwork and that. But in reality, it applies to your social life as well. Planning times to be with family and friends, planning times to just be by yourself and just work on yourself. So that there's 24 hours in the day, you have 8 hours you're working, maybe 8 hours for sleep, and that leaves 8 more hours to do whatever you need to do. So planning it out that way.
And then we have our 10 main benefits of time management. And time management has a lot, but these are the main ones that you focus on. Usually people who do a good job of managing their time are less stressed out, because they know what they want. They know that what their plan is going to get them set by times and different things like that. So less stress in your life, which I think everybody could need. You get a better school life balance. So sometimes, especially when we're in college and as finals are coming up, we feel like school just takes over our life, and it's school all the time. You're either going to class, attending lectures, doing homework, preparing for exams, and you feel like it's this never-ending cycle. So time management is going to be able to help you balance both your school, but also like your just normal life that you want to live. You have more time freedom. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have more free time, but you're able to control what you do with your time throughout the day. You know, you always hear people say, like, well, I don't have time to do that. Everybody has the same 24 hours, but how you spend those 24 hours is going to be really like what you prioritize first. You'll get a greater focus. So this kind of relates to making sure that with your time management, you're putting the things that have the most focus for you at the highest point, and then that you can sit down and focus on that one thing that you're doing, and that your mind isn't racing all around thinking, oh, I have to do this later. So getting a greater focus on what you're doing, you'll get higher levels of productivity, just, you know, going off of the greater focus, because you're going to be able to focus on one thing and not be constantly worried about all the things you have to do. You can sit down and focus on one thing. Less procrastination. I know college students really struggle with procrastinating. Some people say, like, the closer to the deadline, the harder I work, kind of thing. And that might work for you, but that's also really stressful. Procrastinating can cause stress. And so if you can minimize that stress, you'll have an overall just better, healthy life. Things are more simple and easy. Obviously, if you're under control of how your time is managed, things are just going to go more smooth. You're less distracted, like I talked about earlier, because you're able to put things first and focus on those first. So you're not distracted by everything else that you have to do. You'll have increased energy, actually, because all the energy that you put into being rushing here and there and forgetting about things and procrastinating and things like that, that takes in energy. So you'll actually find that if you feel as though your time is better managed, you'll have an increase in energy, and then you have more time to think. So this, if you set 10 minutes a day to go over your planner and what you have done, then you have more time to think about, okay, it usually takes me 20 minutes to read this chapter of this book. So let's put that in this slot, and you'll be able to just create a little bit more time for yourself once you get in that rhythm.
Here, now when the slides are moving good. So the themes of time management. So we're looking at some themes behind what time management means for you as an individual. So to create an environment which is favorable for effectiveness. So this kind of ties back to what I talked about earlier, of other people's plans may not work for you. We'll talk about in a little bit that you are the expert on yourself. So if you realize that you're more productive in the evenings, setting those priorities of my highest priority items need to happen in the evenings, because that's when I'm most productive. If you set yourself up to where all of your major projects you're going to work on in the morning, when you're a night person, you're setting yourself up for failure. So the idea of you're going to be tired, you're going to be dragging, you're not getting the things done that you want to, that's going to lower your motivation. And it's just like it's a rolling stone. It's a snowball effect where things keep getting pushed back, and then the whole schedule you had becomes null and void. So being like, okay, I am a night person. I'm going to look at my activities. So I have to do a project for one of my major core classes that's due next week. I'm going to start that tonight because I am a night person. Versus I have a chapter in a book that I really enjoy that's going to be really quick and easy to read. I could do that in the morning because it's not going to require as much as my attention. So setting those priorities and then performing activities according to those priorities, just like we talked about. And if you kind of get a mismatch in your priorities and mismatch in when you're doing certain things, you're going to reduce the time that you're able to spend on things you enjoy or things that you really need to get done. Because like, oh, these simple things I'm doing at the wrong time start to drag and become really long drag out things. So just knowing yourself, gaining awareness over yourself can help you make a more effective time management strategy and plan.
Okay, so here are some time management tips that we came up with to just kind of help you guys. Now, these could work for some people, and sometimes they might not work for you. Maybe you've tried some of these things and they haven't worked. That's okay. Just, you know, keep trying different things because you are the expert on yourself. What works for somebody else like you said, might not work for you. So the first thing is to get a planner. Most people, obviously, when you're in school, you have a planner. You might not necessarily use it, but you probably have one. But some things about your planner is, make it a cute or like a fun and eye-pleasing planner. You want to be able to look at it and enjoy looking at it. There's tons of planners out there that come with like stickers and slogans. There's planners that match people's personalities. There's planners, that have things that they have different layouts, they have different months, different things like that, month layouts, weekly layouts, daily layouts, whatever you think works best for you. Or you can, if you're really creative, if you're artistic, create a bullet journal. I know, like I have a bullet journal and I get all of my ideas for that off Pinterest. If you just like type in bullet journal on Pinterest, you'll get thousands, probably millions of results just telling you how you can make this bullet journal, and then you can make it the way that you want. Making the schedule for yourself each week. So at the beginning, maybe at the beginning of the week, you put things that you know that you have. So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I could go to class at 10 and 2. Write how long those classes last for, write what's due each week. Just so that you know and it's not something that you forget. And maybe at the beginning of the month, you write down big dates that are coming up. Like you have a big exam on November 18th, or you have a big project due. Write down when your finals are. Because then, sometimes we think that we're going to remember these things because they're so important. But often with day-to-day activities, with everything going on in our lives, school, maybe work, friendships, social events, relationships, family stuff, you might forget about that thing, or the time just goes by so fast and you're like, oh crap, I have a test next week and I haven't started studying for it yet. And so writing those things down can really make sure that you hold yourself accountable, and make sure that you create a to-do list. So a lot of people like to-do lists. There's a little bit of a satisfaction of crossing things off your to-do list, whether it's a check mark, you maybe erase it, you write a line through it. But it's kind of like that sense of, look what I did, I accomplished something. Even if it's something super small, like making your bed in the morning. It's you wake up and you already accomplished something. So creating that to-do list would give you, oh, I can do all these things today. But I also think it's important to rank that to-do list in order of importance, because sometimes we write down our to-do list and we have like 15 things, and it's very overwhelming to look at that to-do list. Like, how am I supposed to do all these 15 things in one day or this week or even this month if they're really big? And so rank them in importance. If you have a big test on Friday and you need to study for that, put that as your number one, and then just go down the list. And that way, at the end of the day, maybe you didn't cross everything off your to-do list, but you were able to say, well, I got my 3 most important things done, and that's what matters. Or I got my 1 most important thing done. And maybe your most important thing on that to-do list that day is to have some self-care time. Maybe it's to sit down and watch 3 episodes of whatever you're watching at the moment, or go do yoga or meditate or something like that. Again, you're the expert. So identify, the next tip is to identify time wasters and set goals. So is social media taking too much of your time? Do you constantly sit there doing homework and look at your phone for something, and then you just get lost on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter for like 20 minutes to an hour, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, I haven't even studied. Maybe put a time limit on your app. Set a time limit of how much time you can spend on each app a day. I know you can do that on iPhones. I'm not sure about Androids or anything like that, but you can do that on iPhone. Set a time limit for your apps, and it'll say like, hey, you can't be on this app anymore. You have to get back to what you're doing. It'll give you a reminder on your phone. If maybe your phone just in general is a distraction, like texting people, Snapchat, put it out of sight and out of mind and put it on do not disturb. So maybe put it in the next room on do not disturb. Or maybe you can put it underneath your pillow on your bed if you don't have another room to put it in. Just get it out of your sight so you're not tempted to use it. And if you have a smartwatch, make sure that's where you kind of put the do not disturb part on, because even if it's across the room, it's still going to buzz on your wrist and you're going to feel that vibration and you're going to say, oh, I got to check this. And maybe you'll get up and go look at it. And while you're up, you're looking around and you just get distracted. So try to identify what you think the time wasters are and be able to set those goals. So make a SMART goal. A SMART goal is what we call specific,
measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive.
yes, thank you, Colt. For the life of me, I could not think of it at the moment. But yeah, so instead of saying, I want to study more, say, I'm going to study for anatomy 30 minutes every single day. That's a SMART goal. Or something like that. I'm going to do every Friday, I'm going to do my online classwork. Something like that. So set that SMART goal. Set amount of time, that's time limit, maybe set amount of pages you want to read. Like I'm going to read 2 chapters in this book, or I'm going to read 30 pages of this. I'm going to go over 10 pages of my note, something like that. Make it specific, because otherwise we can say, I want to study today. Well, if you sit down for 5 minutes looking at your textbook, you might consider that studying, but it might not have helped you. So setting that specific goal really does matter. Give each task that you need to complete like that set time limit, and then reward yourself for completing those tasks. So you're like, oh yeah, I studied for 30 minutes today. I said I was going to, and I did it. Awesome. Now my reward is blank. So if you like ice cream, maybe go get some ice cream for that. If your reward is social media, like, okay, I'm going to sit on my phone for 10 minutes then because I just studied for 30. Whatever you like, your reward is going to be different from other people's rewards. And just make sure that you reward yourself immediately, because usually when you get an A on a test, you're immediately happy about it. But then maybe 2 months later, you're like, an A, right? So let's make sure that we're rewarding ourselves immediately, and make sure that you do it after you complete the task, not before. Sometimes I think it's like, well, I'm going to study for 2 hours later, so I'm going to go do this now. Well, make sure that reward is after, because maybe later something comes up and you can't study. So reward yourself for completing that task, but make sure you do it right away and make sure you do it after. Plan out time for breaks and not just work, not just schoolwork. Plan, 30 minutes for lunch, and make that lunch you're not eating while you're doing lunch, you're not scrolling through social media while you're doing lunch. It's like, take time to sit and eat that lunch and be within yourself. If you want to throw something on, like a 30-minute episode while you eat that lunch, that's great. But make sure you plan time for breaks. We do need breaks. And so plan that. After about an hour and a half to 2 hours of studying one thing, our brain can't take any more information about it. So make sure that you do take those small breaks, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Something else is that if you're feeling really, really overwhelmed, start with small tasks and do one thing at a time. So a lot of people say, like, I was multitasking. It's actually very hard to truly multitask. We think that we are, but we're really just switching from one thing to another really, really fast. So make sure that you start with small tasks and try to do one thing at a time. So maybe you look at your to-do list and you're like, oh my gosh, all these things are really big. Start with something small. Maybe it's like make myself a healthy breakfast, or go for a 10-minute walk, or make my bed, brush my teeth, do my skincare routine, something like that. So something small, and then once those small things are checked off, you kind of get on a roll and do one thing at a time. And then another thing is establish a routine. This is so important because once we get into that routine, it becomes so natural. They say it takes 21 days to do a habit, but it honestly depends on the person. It could take someone 5 days to figure out that routine. It could take someone 50 days to figure out that routine. It really does depend on the person, but establishing that routine is essential. So even if you start with a morning routine, what do you do every morning? You probably already know what your routine in the morning is. Maybe you get up, make your bed, brush your teeth, put your contacts in, take a shower. That's a morning routine. Maybe your lunch routine is to meet your friends for lunch. That's a routine. So establish those routines and make sure that you try to hit them every single day, because then it'll just come by naturally. And again, learning what works best for you. Try some different things out. And if it doesn't work, try something else. Ask other people, like, hey, have you tried this? Does this work for you? Do you have any tips for me? Because maybe what we have said, you've tried everything and it just doesn't work for you. So try different things. Use Pinterest, use Google, different things like that. Just make sure that you remember that you're the expert on yourself and no one else is going to be able to tell you what works best for you. In a little trouble with our slides again.
It was doing such a good job. All right, so what's going to come up on this slide, what's going to come up right now? No, okay. So what's going to be on this slide are talking about some of the campus resources. So first off, before I start listening and talk about these things, you have paid for these things with your student fees and your student medical fee. So it's like, oh, I don't have the money to go to the counseling center. Well, it's like, if you paid your student medical fee, which I'm sure you have, then you're eligible to come over and come see us. So the first one I'm going to talk about is counseling services, where Alyssa and I are coming from. So we give things like seminars like this. We're doing a test anxiety seminar on the 18th of this month. We've done seminars in the past that are available. Those recordings are available. So we give these kind of talks, kind of presentations talking about issues that face most people as college students. And then in doing that, it helps you know that you're not alone in these struggles. A lot of people you see walking around are having the same time management struggles as you. It's just what are you wanting to do about it? What are you wanting to do to improve your time management skills? And then you can come in for individual counseling. So come in and talk about what's going on. Maybe you're not motivated to complete your task because you hate your major, or you're just feeling really down lately, or you feel really anxious about something. Coming and talking about that, kind of trying to alleviate those problems, could help you establish a schedule. And also talking with the counselor about establishing a schedule and seeing what that looks like for you, setting yourself up on a path to success. And if that sounds like something you'd want to do, but maybe ongoing counseling isn't for you, you can come in for a one-time session. We come in, talk, kind of problem solve, set of goals, set a plan. And if you don't feel like you want to come back or feel like you need to, you're rocking and rolling, going about what we talked about in the session. The next thing is the SWAG program. SWAG stands for Students with a Goal. So it's not just free stuff. It is an acronym. So they look at enhancing student strategies, academic strategies, and then they do that a lot through these one-on-one sessions with academic coaches. So they're located up on the third floor of the library, which you need to access through the exterior elevators that go up. The Honors Lounge, Freshman College are all up there. So you can go in there, talk to them about what's going on. I've known students that have gone to them for a couple sessions in one semester and gotten help, but I've known students who have stayed in the program all 4 years. It's just kind of tailored to what you need, and they're there to get you on the right path, just like it would be if you went and saw a counselor or something like that. So these resources you paid for them with your student fees, they're things that really are there for you to take advantage of. And another resource are your advisors and your professors. So again, if you're having an issue with your major of, I don't want to go in computer science, but I'm a computer science major. Talking with your advisor about that, kind of exploring your interests. What about it led you there in the first place? What about it's going to lead you somewhere else? If it's a personal issue, like you're not motivated to talk to people personally, again, Going back, maybe counseling would be for you, or maybe you need to talk to your friends or your family and be like, hey, this is what's going on. Going back to the academics. So advisors will help you get in classes that you're interested in. And if you're struggling in the classes you're currently in, talking with your professors about, I don't know how to study, what can I do? Or what's worked for students in the past. And most of them will be more than happy to talk to you about, oh, this is what other students I've recommended to other students, or this is what I did when I was an undergrad, that kind of a thing. So kind of sets you on a path of learning from others, like Alyssa talked about, but then taking that information and putting it into your own words, into your own box, to where you can figure it out for yourself. Last is career development. So the Career Development Center in the UC, you can go in there and talk to Julie about what's going to happen after college. Because a lot of what we're doing now is planning on what's going to happen after graduation. So if we have that big goal, that long-term goal of I want to be this, after talking to them, you can work on the step-by-step process to get to that goal. And you're going to be more motivated because it's something you've chosen, it's something you're passionate about, something you want to do. So you can go over to career development, talk to Julie about making a resume if you're close to graduation. Maybe your time management's poor because you're just kind of putting that off because you don't want to think about it happening. So getting that help of setting that resume to get the job you want. There's some personality assessments over there to do. So you can kind of figure out maybe if you don't know what your interests are, kind of see, okay, maybe I'm more interested in the teaching field than I thought. Maybe that's something I can go explore. It's that kind of idea. And then the idea of the snowballing, the good snowball, where you do this little activity, it's going to push you over and you're going to start doing the bigger and bigger activities until you've reached your goal. It's graduation day. You're getting calls about jobs and you're like, this is, I got here because of the steps I took 2-3 years ago. So the long journey starts with those little steps. There's resources all over campus to help you get to where you want to be.
And that's all we have. Do we have any questions from anybody? Go ahead and speak up if you have a question. Okay. Well, thank you to anybody who has joined us today, and then y'all watching this later. That's great. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank y'all.